Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Amplify Your Business. Today's show, we're going to be talking about honey, and we're going to be talking about retail, taking a business that is a family-owned business and basically launching it into the modern era of marketing with a special guest, Paige. Paige, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lance.
So Paige, tell me a little bit about your background for yourself as well as Honey Bunny. What is it that you guys do over there?
Yeah, so my name's Paige Wolfe, and I'm the sales and marketing manager here at Honey Bunny. I'm also Gilbert, our founder's oldest daughter. So my father's background is he started beekeeping when he was 14. We're actually located in the honey capital of Canada here in northern Alberta. So beekeeping is a very normal summer job for somebody here. He was a bulk honey producer for a very long time, and then him and my mom founded Honey Bunny in 2006. My brother, sister, and I went off to do different things. So I studied at the University of Alberta and I got a degree in finance and accounting. My sister went to special effects makeup school in Vancouver, and my brother actually went to power engineering school in Fairview. Eventually, we all found our way back home, back to the family business. So I've been in this role for about 2.5 years since I graduated.
Sorry. I'm really excited to be interviewing you, Paige, today because I'm actually from the Peace Country. So I grew up not too far from where you're at. So like Paige mentioned, Paige is in the honey capital of Canada, which is a small town called Falher. And I grew up in a little place called Cherry Point, which is just across the river and kind of upstream a little ways. So we're pretty close in terms of proximity. So I know the area really well. And talk about honey production. My sister actually, when we were kids, she used to work as a summer job for the local beekeeper in our neck of the woods as well. And so that's something that probably most farm kids have had some experience with, getting in there and cleaning out some of those hives and having the swarms of honeybees all around you and so on. It was never something that appealed to me. I did not like getting stung. And so that was something that I kind of avoided. But did you end up getting your hands dirty and were in there with the hives as well?
Oh yeah, all three of us have worked in the bees, and tons of kids from the local high school. We always say that if you can work a summer in the bees, it's the hardest job you'll ever have. So anything after that is easy.
Now, honey is such a special thing. I mean, what the bees are providing us it's considered a superfood, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about some of the attributes of honey and what makes it so special?
Yeah, honey is so fascinating. It's actually one of the only foods that's good indefinitely, so it will never expire. They even found some in the Egyptian tombs. Like it's crazy, and it's because of its low moisture, high sugar content, and its low pH. So its low moisture content and all of those factors also make it very antimicrobial. So if you get a cut, even putting honey on your cut, it will heal quickly. It's just so fascinating. It's so good for you, jam-packed full of vitamins and minerals, and it's
Yeah.
really a superfood. I think everybody should be eating it.
And the throat. I mean, I know years ago I did a little bit of research because I was having just a heck of a sore throat, and I had to speak at a convention, and so I was fearful that I was going to lose my voice, and so I think it's called. I'm going to probably get this wrong, but propolis, is that the right term for it? And so I was told that you just kind of let that coat your throat and it'll heal right away. And sure enough, the next morning I was totally fine. It was incredible how quickly it healed the throat for me anyway.
Yeah, so good for you. Even things like if you get a burn, putting it on a burn. We have people with local animals. So if their horse gets into some barbed wire or something and they're cut open, they'll pick up a pail of honey and put that on the horse. Like it's so cool. It blows my mind.
Yeah. So it's a really great product, or ingredient, I guess, to your guys' product. And so tell me a little bit about some of your products. Actually, before you do that, I should just do a little product placement here for you guys. So we've got the ketchup, which is phenomenal, and then the barbecue sauce, which is just a huge favorite in our house. And so not only, obviously, am I a fan of you guys because you're from the Peace Country, but I mean, I personally love your products, and everybody should try them out if they haven't already. But tell us a little bit about the products and what really makes you guys stand out compared to, say, the rest of the barbecue sauce on the shelf or the ketchups and the other products that you guys are selling.
Yeah, thanks, Lance. I'm so glad to see that you're a customer and that you like the products.
Yeah.
So when we first started in 2006, we had our line of honeys. So our honey line is creamed honey and liquid honey. Our best seller and our most premium product is definitely our creamed honey. Shortly after that, in 2008, we kind of wanted to do more and said, well, what else do we like to do? What can we launch to market? And then we said, well, we really love barbecuing as a family. And so from that, our barbecue sauce and our ketchup were born. They're different from competitors in that they're packaged in unique pouch packaging, as you can see. So this helps us stand out on the shelf in very saturated categories. There's a ton of barbecue sauce on the market. It also actually helps reduce our transportation loads because it's much lighter to transport than bottles and caps. So our transportation efficiency is way better. And then it's just fun. It sits in your fridge nicely. It's easy to get every last drop out. They're also certified organic, gluten-free, vegetarian, and most importantly, they're sweetened with honey. So there's no sugar added to them, no refined sugar. It's just honey as a sweetener.
Yeah, and that's super key. So I know for myself, I really try to avoid as much of the refined sugars as I possibly can. And it is so incredibly difficult to do that because it's used in so many different products. It's just amazing how much you'll see, the corn syrups and so on in as a base ingredient for a lot of these. Now, you had told me in a previous conversation that a lot of the honey even that is marketed on the shelves as being like honey in a jar, or if it's on a label as an ingredient, that actually a lot of it is having a lot of refined sugars mixed into it. And so they're cutting the honey with sugar to obviously save cost because honey is going to be a little more expensive than what the refined sugars are. And so that just blew my mind. How big of a problem is this out there?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a huge problem in the US, and it's definitely a problem here in Canada. CFIA published a report that said I think 27% of the honey on the shelf is adulterated. So yeah, like you said, to cut costs, and also the supply of the honey in the world doesn't match the demand. So there's just simply not enough of it. So they'll cut it with things like rice syrups and sugars, refined sugars.
Yeah. And so that's what's so important for us to be supporting the local guys who we know are doing things right and proper. And obviously Honey Bunny is the local guys that we want to be supporting for sure. And so in terms of your products, I know that you guys were just up for some awards. One of them was the Product Innovation Award, I believe. So can you tell me a little bit about some of the recognition that you guys just recently received this fall?
Yeah, so in the last couple of months, our Bodacious Tomato Ketchup was actually a finalist in the Made in Alberta Awards through Avenue Magazine, the savory food category. So we're really, really proud of that. And then we were also a finalist for the Alberta Business Awards of Distinction in the marketing category. So it's kind of a nice way to go into the last quarter of 2020.
Yeah, feather in your cap for sure. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about sales then. You came on board a couple of years ago. You're heading up the sales. What have you done, I guess, differently in the sales and marketing side of things compared to what was happening pre-Paige? And then tell us a little bit about some of the results that you guys have been seeing.
For sure. So in terms of marketing, I've really taken us online. So we've had a Facebook account before, but when I joined, we weren't on Facebook, no Instagram or anything like that. Now, today we can be found on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, even TikTok now. So it's great because it really lets us form better relationships with our customers and figure out what they're saying, how they're using the products. That way, when we launch new products, we're really keeping them in mind and thinking, well, what would they like to see and what would they use? So it's great that way. We've really taken things online, taken things more digital. So
yeah, and you guys have now an online store as well where you're selling your products online. Before it was all just done through your distribution network, correct?
yeah, exactly. So we thought in our hamlet, we're so remote, like how is online selling even possible? But especially through COVID, people don't want to leave their houses, and it's critical to be online now.
What percentage of the sales would be driven from online then versus the rest of the distribution?
Yeah, so with like Amazon, well.ca, and then our own online store, I'd say it makes up about 5% of our sales.
Okay.
So it's not huge, but it definitely counts for something.
Yeah, and I imagine growing every month, right? I'd imagine that trend line has got to be looking like an upward left direction for sure.
Exactly.
Right.
And lots of
Right.
retailers too, like if they have your product in store, it's also online. So we're in store in Costco and then also on Costco.ca or like Goodness Me and goodnessme.ca. So it's really the direction that it seems like things are heading.
Tell me a little bit about the retail, like getting into these retailers, getting into Costco, getting into the Walmarts and so on of the world. How difficult is that? And for those people who are maybe listening to how product that they've been selling at farmers markets, selling at maybe some of the local stores, what should they know in terms of some of the challenges that lie ahead as they try to determine whether or not they want to go that route as well?
So I think first of all, the jump from like a farmer's market or local to national retailers, it's really important to have all of your T's crossed and your I's dotted in terms of regulatory compliance. So you want to make sure that you're compliant with CFIA and all of the governing bodies, depending on what product you are. So it's different for everything. If you're doing honey, meat, maple syrup, it changes. Next, I think you need to know your product really, really well and what sets it apart from competitors so that when you're presenting to retailers, they know what value they're getting in you. So, for example, because of our remote location, we're never ever going to be the cheapest product on the shelf. Just getting to market costs that much more. But our quality is bar none. You will not find a better quality honey, and we will never release a product that doesn't meet our quality standards.
Yeah.
Next, I think it's really, really important to know the different category review schedules at each retailer and to know how they like to be presented to and where your product fits. For example, we just launched a bee pollen at the beginning of the year, and you'd think that it would fit in the honey category, but it actually is in health and supplements. And that's a totally different time of year that they review that. So knowing where they want to see it on their shelves and knowing what time of year they're looking at that is really, really important.
Yeah, so just to for clarity's sake, because some people maybe aren't familiar with some of the terms. So the review schedule, this would be when the buyer, say for Costco or Walmart or Safeway or whatever, that's when they're sitting down going through all the SKUs that they're responsible for, and each department would have a different schedule in which they're doing that review. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, exactly. So for them, it becomes really costly to just review products as soon as they hit their desks. So they'll usually look at a category in its entirety. So say they're looking at barbecue sauce. They'll probably do that in December so that everything's ready to reset for barbecue season the following year.
Okay.
That way they're looking at everything, seeing where their margins are at, how everything fits together with the different price points, making sure they've checked up all the boxes. So is there an organic offering, a conventional offering, different price points for different consumers?
Yeah. Yeah, and so you guys are checking off a lot of boxes in the sense where you get to check off kind of the locally made, you get to check off the organic, you check off the gluten-free, right? Economical packaging or reduced packaging as well. So that whole, environmentally friendly aspect of things too. And then obviously the quality, second to none. You're not cutting your honeys or anything, obviously. So there's a lot of boxes that you guys get to check off in terms of those advantages. Now, like you said, you're not the cheapest one on the shelf though. And so speaking of the shelf, you like most of these stores, I mean, I don't see any gaps in their shelves. So I would imagine when you're trying to get your barbecue sauce, as an example, into the shelf of a particular retailer, you're going to have to push something else out, right?
Yeah, definitely. They don't usually keep gaps in their shelves.
Yeah. So in that way, like how is it that you basically are able to dethrone the current holder of that shelf space? How do you guys go about doing that? Is there a secret to that? Like, is it like how do you basically approach those retailers and say, hey, you maybe think that you've got a great barbecue sauce there, but you need to try this. What's the process there?
Yeah, so you have to be really careful when doing that just because the retailer is typically the expert on their shelf and they chose those products for a reason. So you have to make sure you're respectfully telling them why yours is the better option. So like you said, we check off a lot of boxes. So let's say I go to the shelf and there's an organic barbecue sauce that has honey in it, but it's not made in Canada. I go to them and I said, hey, I think that your consumers would probably find more value in a local product. And then this is how I can support them. We're on social media. I can offer these certain temporary price reductions. The innovative packaging helps a lot too, because there's not a lot of barbecue sauces that can be found in pouches. That being said, some people will love the pouch and some people will hate the pouch. So it's also important to have a strong track record and strong sales already that are backing your product, that you can show them and say, hey, it's working really, really well at these retailers. And I think you should consider it because you're kind of missing this piece.
Now, I would also think that going into a new retailer, if you have a really great social media following, so there's a tribe of people who are following you and the comments are all great and they're talking about how much they love your products. If you've got that in your online sales, like you can show that there's a demand there, and that the market is really digging what it is that you're producing, that evidence must come in pretty handy when you're in those conversations as well.
Totally. I think it's huge to be online nowadays. Like it's instant feedback from the people that are actually buying your product. Like, you know, where they're located. So let's say we have a ton of followers from Eastern Canada and there's a big Eastern Canada retailer there and they're not carrying our barbecue sauce. I'm like, hey, you're kind of missing out because there's a lot of people online that are interested in this.
Yeah. Yeah. So that could really inform where you're going to be targeting retailers, I suppose, based off of the influx of customers that you're tracking into the online store, into your social channels and that. So you can identify where some of the demands are, where maybe there's a supply gap in your retail network that then you can go out and try to fill that gap. Eh?
Totally. And even then you can let your followers know when a product is launching at each retailer or when it's
Yeah.
on special where there's a flyer. It's instant. It's awesome.
Yeah, so then you're able to drive traffic into those stores then right away, and so obviously that's going to help then when once you've got that trial happening in a particular store, you get some immediate sales for them right away, and they see that, and so then you're going to get a better pickup across the rest of the chain in that region, I would suspect. So that's
Exactly.
yeah, that's really good. Now, in terms of, I know a lot of these retailers will demand a certain amount of dollars be contributed towards co-promotional advertising and different things like that. Is that something that plays out for you guys as well? Where and how exactly does that work? And because I'd imagine that's something that you definitely need to be budgeting for within your projections when you're going in.
Definitely. I think it's really important to look at your product and look at what will make it sell the best. So for us in our creamed honey, it's still quite unique. So demoing the product is really, really important. So we allocate 6.5% of our budget to just demoing the product. So having people serve the product so that people can taste it, touch it, see how the texture is different, how the taste is milder, and then that converts to them buying the product. We also do a lot of temporary price reductions about 4 times a year. We're pretty consistent with those. Different retailers will look at flyers. Local stores like Community Natural Foods and Freeze Brothers, I'll actually go in and demo the product myself so that I can talk to all of the consumers, get their feedback. Do they like the pouch? Do they like the jar? Do they like how it seals, how it tastes? What are they thinking? Where are they eating it? What are their households like?
Yeah.
So getting that feedback is so important.
Yeah, great brands really do a great job of continually monitoring how the marketplace is responding to their products, right? And really getting out there and getting that customer feedback. And so I love the fact that you yourself are still going into some of these stores, or still having those one-on-one interactions with the consumers to really get their feedback immediately, and that will help then inform the product innovation as you guys roll forward. And for those people who are watching this who don't have products that they can go in and kind of demonstrate and so on, maybe it's more on the service side even, or maybe their distribution is all completely remote and they don't have the ability to be right in a store, you still can get that customer feedback. And so you want to be sending out some surveys to customers. You want to be tapping into conversations that are happening online about your products so that you can get real life consumer experiences that allow you to inform your product development. And it also helps to inform some of your marketing too, because for instance, if there's something that people don't quite understand, so in your guys' case, the creamed honey, maybe has like you said, a slightly different texture or a different taste to it than what maybe somebody might traditionally be experiencing or had experienced or whatever. And so it's really important then, if that's something that it's a little off-putting, which I'm not saying that that's the case in yours, but if that was the case, then maybe wrapping a marketing story around why that is can really help out in overcoming that key objection. And so one of the stories from back in my days in college when I was taking marketing classes, I remember studying Buckley's cough syrup, cough medicine. And at that time, they had really embraced the campaign slogan that it tastes horrible, but it works, I think is what it was. And so they were addressing that concern that the consumers were having. So people were telling them like, oh my God, this is horrible. And so instead of them trying to reformulate it and change the taste of it, they just really went hard on the marketing on it. And it's like, yeah, it might taste bad, but man, we're going to get you fixed up right away. And it was a distinctive then attribute of their product that became actually one of their selling features. And so they wouldn't have been able to do that had they not understood that this was a concern of their clients from the consumers in that. And so you're getting that direct feedback, and that's great. Anytime you can get that feedback loop is wonderful. So good on you for that. Yeah. So in terms of the, again, some of the marketing spend, so you guys are going in there and dedicating some time in store doing the demonstrations. But then there's other things that you have to chip in for as well with some of those retailers. Can you walk us through how that works too?
Yeah, so depending on the retailer, all of their fee structures are kind of different. There's some where you have to pay for the flyer and then also support it with a discount off of the product.
Okay.
There are different discounts that you can give. So you can give an MCB, so a manufacturer chargeback, or you can go off invoice or OI. So understanding the difference between those and what works best for you. There's also end caps. So when you walk into the grocery store, like the aisle piece is an end cap. So maybe you want to be there. There's also
and that costs extra or something. Do you have to pay the store to be able to put that end cap there, which is going to obviously have way more traffic and exposure?
Yeah, exactly. So finding out what's worth it, like what spend will give you what sales to make it worth it. And I like to combine things. So if I'm going to a retailer to demo, I'm also putting the product on promotion and I'm doing a social media giveaway with them at the same time so that people get hit with the product 3 different times and they really know they won't forget Peace River Honey and Honey Bunny.
Yeah. Repetition, right? I mean, advertising, it's all about the repetition. Now, you did mention Peace Country Honey, and I love to dig into that a little deeper because Honey Bunny is what I know your guys' products as. And now you have another brand called Peace River Honey. Tell me a little bit about that brand and why you guys decided to create a second brand.
Yeah, so our company is Honey Bunny, and it's kind of the umbrella that oversees all of our brands. And then under the Honey Bunny umbrella, we have our Peace River Honey brand, Honey Bunny brand, Amazing Dad's sauce, and Bodacious ketchup. But our Peace River Honey brand probably launched and changed up the branding was to focus on more regional branding and to show consumers where their honey is coming from. So like I said, it's the honey capital of Canada. It's a very pristine place. It's a perfect place to raise bees. So people are able to paint that picture of where their honey's coming from all the way across Canada. And on the label, we have a photo of my parents, Sharon and Gilbert, so you can see who made your honey, where it's coming from, and know that you're getting a real product, especially as we talked about honey adulteration being such a huge issue. It's important to reinforce to consumers that they can trust your product, they know where it's coming from, and they're getting what they're paying for.
Exactly. So you guys have really embraced local. And this is the thing that I just absolutely love. And there's so many businesses out there right now that need to be doing this. And so you guys have incorporated a whole nother brand to really emphasize how local you guys are. And the interesting thing that I think that should be shared here or emphasized is that you guys are local to the Peace Country, but that brand, that local brand, has gotten traction right across the country because it really emphasizes the kind of the intimacy of what you guys do and having your parents' photo on it and so on. And so even though you're not local to, say, backyard Ontario, the people who are picking it up on the shelves are still getting the same feeling that brand connotates, right? And so that's just beautiful. I really love that way that you guys have done that. And right now through COVID, there has been so many more people that have really understood that they need to be supporting local small businesses, because it's a challenge, especially when you have monsters like Amazon out there who are drop shipping stuff to your door in 24 hours and so on. And so it's really hard for small businesses to compete. And so having that local, emphasis is going to be able to capture some of the customers who are interested in really supporting and understanding how important local businesses are to our economy and the fabric of our communities and whatnot. So good on you guys for going straight into that. Is that what are we going to see more of that, where more of your product line is going to come in under that brand, or in the future, do you think you'll be developing kind of both brands at the same time?
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to focus on Peace River honey and expanding that line. When I think about it, it's almost like Quebec maple syrup. So even
Yeah.
in Alberta, I'm so proud to have Quebec maple syrup as a Canadian. I think it's so good. It tastes so much better. So we kind of want to do the same thing with honey, having it from the honey capital of Canada, accessible to all Canadians, and really staying true to where we're from and why we're doing what we're doing, and
Yeah.
producing the best honey possible for those consumers.
Now, with success, you also have the ability then to do some stuff that really matters as well. And I know you guys have some initiatives where you're trying to help out not only, obviously up in the Peace Country, the local farmers and so on up there, the honey apiaries and so on, but also you are looking abroad and helping some other people. Tell us a little bit about some of your global initiatives.
Yeah, so one of our global initiatives is our Zambezi honey brand. So it actually helps support the women beekeepers in Zambia, Africa, who have to climb the trees to harvest the honey from the killer bees. It's pretty intense.
Like killer bees, so they're in there into their nests, like this is
Yeah,
insane, completely insane. And I don't imagine that they have the same beekeeping outfits, the big white beekeeping outfits with the netting and everything on them that we have the luxury of having here, right? So how are they
yeah,
doing that?
so crazy. And it's all the women that are the beekeepers. It's not the men. So
Women are
it's,
always tougher. I don't know what it is. It's so incredible.
yeah, it's crazy.
So
Yeah, and
you
then
guys are then getting them to send over some of this honey, and then you guys are bottling this as under its own brand then?
yeah, exactly. So it's available in a stand-up pouch like the condiments are, and you can find it again across Canada and on our online store.
Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the taste of that honey is going to be very distinctly different than what you guys are producing out of the beautiful, pristine farms up in or fields up in the Peace Country, correct?
Yeah, definitely. So in Peace River, we're really renowned for our light, mild tasting white honey. In contrast to that, an African honey is really, really strong and robust. It's great even as like a meat marinade. It's really good with a
Wow,
sharp cheese. So the flavors are totally different.
very interesting. And so a percentage of the sales go back to them, or is it just through the supporting of their efforts from the supply purchasing standpoint is really where the benefit lies?
Yeah, exactly. Through the supporting of them and the purchasing of the honey.
Now, there's also something I see online on your website, a Wolf Spanish bee pollen then. So tell me a little bit about that product, and that's coming from Spain, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So bee pollen is a superfood. It's collected by bees when they go to the flower, and then when they return to the hive, it's a protein source for the baby bees that are growing. We chose
Hmm.
Spanish bee pollen because Spain is renowned as having the purest, most potent pollen in the world. They also make a lot more pollen than we do in Canada. So we've tried, it's called trapping pollen on our hives here in Canada before, but then the bees don't get that protein that they need. So in Spain, they produce about 5 times as more just because the days are so much longer and the season itself is longer and hotter because they don't get winter. So they're able to take just the excess and then leave some for the bees so that the bees aren't struggling. But the pollen itself is a lot softer and sweeter than what's produced here in Canada.
Hmm.
So we import that in from Spain, and it's available in a pouch size or a jar size. It's a great source of protein. It contains nearly every vitamin and mineral necessary to sustain life. So it's just such a crazy superfood. They say if you're trapped on a mountain and all you had was bee pollen, you could eat that and get everything that you needed from it. I've never tried it, but it's
Yeah,
good to know if you go hiking, have that in your backpack.
yeah, that is insane. That's really cool. Again, just the gifts that some of our little creatures on this planet give to us. It's just so amazing. And the bees, what a gift honey is. So tell me a little bit more about maybe some advice that you maybe could give to other entrepreneurs who, are in a situation where they have a product and they're wanting to grow their market. They're wanting to either shift online, they're wanting to get a distribution system across Canada, they're wanting to grow. What would you recommend, or what tips or advice would you give them, having the experience that you've got now over 2 years growing the brand?
I think it's really important to stick to what you know and know your product inside and out. So be an expert in it. Like I know almost everything. I'm not going to say everything there is to know about bees and honey. And I'm so passionate about bees and honey. And the other thing I think that's really important is persistence. I think it's important to not give up on it. And if you believe on it, keep trying, because it's going to take a very long time. We always joke around here that the retailers are going to get so sick of me that they say yes just so that they can stop seeing me and bring the products in. So it's so important to be persistent, because these things take years, especially when the review schedule is annual. You can wait 3 years and be presenting to the same retailer for 3 years. So you really have to be persistent and have thick skin, because some people won't like your product, but
I think persistence is definitely the key for any entrepreneur, right? And that's probably the differentiating factor between entrepreneurs and non-entrepreneurs, or those ones who are successful, are the ones that face that rejection all the time, or those challenges on the product development. I'm sure your dad and you guys have all been looking at new products and trying to innovate different things, and you think you've got a winner, and then it flops potentially as well, or it just doesn't pass the mustard in terms of getting it to a place where you guys feel the quality is there for your market. And so there's that persistence has to be there at every kind of element of a business, and so not just the sales and marketing side of it. So I love that, and that long game too that you're talking about. So it could take 3 years of repeatedly getting into going into those meetings with those buyers and trying to pitch them every year on the product. And that's the same with everybody. We're in this world in which we want instant gratification. Again, it's like kind of Amazon aspect, where it's like, if I don't have my product in 24 hours, I don't, I'm not sure if I want to buy it from you, kind of thing. And it's just, everything has to be instant right now. And that's not how sales work in terms of when we're trying to develop our markets. And so whether you're doing online, or if you're in there knocking on doors of retailers, it takes some time and effort to get your product in front of people, gain that awareness, and everything goes back to that funnel, the buyer's journey, whether it's the buyer at a retailer or it's the person at home sitting in front of their computer looking at something to purchase. You have to get their awareness, you have to get them to consider your product, and then while they're analyzing and deciding which one they want, so in case of the barbecue sauce, is it this barbecue sauce or another barbecue sauce? Overcoming some of those objections along the way, it takes some time. Some products are a lot easier. The decisions happen a lot quicker, for sure. So when I'm buying barbecue sauce, it's not something that I'm laboring 6 months over. But when it's a higher ticket item, I am. And so everything takes time, and they all go through the same kind of stages. And so that persistence has to be there, and patience, I suppose, right?
yeah, definitely. It's important to be patient.
Now, where can people find you, I guess, in terms of your products, retailers, as well as, I guess, your online social handles and so on?
For sure. So our products can be found nationally across Canada at different retailers like Costco, Walmart. We're in TJX now, so like the Winners, HomeSense, and Marshalls stores, Save On Foods, Federated Co-op, Calgary Co-op, tons of independent chains, so like Freeze and Bros, Community Natural Foods. Online, you can find us at peaceriverhoney.co, amazon.ca, well.ca. Pretty well anywhere you shop. Online, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and TikTok. Our handle.
Just search for Honey Bunny, or
search for Peace River Honey.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you'll find us there. We post different recipes, different fun facts about bees. You can see our beekeepers will go shoot videos in the fields to really bring people to where their honey's being made, and show them who's making it. So we like to feature some of our team members. So it's a fun page, I like to think.
Excellent. I love that you guys are incorporating video because it is a really, really unique operation, right? And so it's fascinating for somebody who has never been around the beekeeping industry at all. It's really interesting to watch. And so definitely, I highly encourage everybody to go out there and check out your guys' social channels and watch some of those videos. It's great what you guys are doing there. Fantastic. So thank you again. I really appreciate it, Paige. For those of you who are interested in learning a little bit more about other small businesses across our great province, check out amplimedia.com/amplify. We have more episodes archived over there, as well as episodes in which we help businesses with their marketing challenges that they might have. So if you are a small business, if you're an entrepreneur, there's lots of great content over at amplimedia.com/amplify. And of course, you can check out all of our social channels as well. You can access us on Instagram, as well as Twitter, as well as Facebook and LinkedIn under the handle Amplimedia. So please go over and check it out and share some of the videos that we've got up as well. Take care, everybody. Hope to see you in the next episode.